Well,
The building commissary.
Call this meeting of the CRC, Capital Resource Corporation, to order. And first agenda up is we have the minutes, March 11th, 2024. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving right along, we have the treasurer's report.
Good morning.
Mike will help us out with that.
Nothing has changed since our meeting 2 months ago. As you know, earlier in the year, CEDC made a grant of $5,000. We paid the accounting and audit bill. We paid the D&O insurance for the directors. And I'm not sure what the $3.50 was. Maybe I had a couple of more.
Bank fees.
Huh? Bank fees. I guess if you kept more money in your bank.
That's worse.
I know.
And so our net ordinary income is $542, and our balance sheet is that we started out with we have $1,600 in the bank. We have some prepaid expenses, so we have $1,700 in the bank, but all our expenses for the year are paid. And I think we have to continue to explore what not-for-profits in the county may be looking to use the Capital Resource Corporation to finance. We did send out a letter to a number of them last a year or two ago. We could do that again. I know the Chatham Museum project, or the Shaker Museum project, Chatham is appears to be going forward. So we're not sure what new construction might result from the affiliation with the hospital of Albany Med. The last deal that CRC the Resource Corporation did was for the hospital. $5,000 is $5,000, but I still think it's a worthwhile tool to keep in the toolkit. Whether I continue to feel that way, a year and a half or 2 years from now, I don't know. But I am going to also look at what other CRCs are doing around the state, or are they also treading water? So that's our financial report, Mr. Chairman. Is there any questions?
I know the hospital just, I think, $5 million grant.
Mental health.
Mental health. Would they have to do any construction here?
We will be, but it's going to be on the existing, in the existing hospital, so it'll be internal.
And I think, but Brian Mahoney is on our board at CEC, and so he is aware of this vehicle. And I think we'll just have to continue to monitor it and see. Again, at a certain dollar level, if it's only it's $800,000 to renovate facilities, it's not the cost associated with doing the deal to this end. Doesn't make a lot of money.
What would the break even?
$98 deal is $2 or $3 million. But we can maybe what we do is, in attempting to sell it to a not-for-profit, the hospital side,
right now,
any not-for-profit. We do an analysis, talk to our council at Hudson Russ as to what deals that they've seen last, and show us the pro forma so we know how it would work if we were to use it. Because it's easy to go and say we have this tool, and no one at the not-for-profit understands how it works. And by the time they get banks and underwriters and lawyers involved on their own side, it's too late. That's a good point.
Very good question.
How does the deal work? 101. Let me ask AI.
I'm sitting here thinking the same questions as he's saying that. I'm saying,
Yeah, you go out and say to people, oh, you want to use our thing? Well, how do you use it? Well, we don't really know.
But it's really good.
It'll save you a lot of money,
That's
but
right.
they're big fees up front.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Like this.
I just gave
Safety. Updated report. Any public comments? Public comments, I need a motion and a second to close.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, went to the IDA, Industrial Development Agency. First thing up is I need a motion and a second for the draft minutes of March 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No approved. And now we got the treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see from our P&L, we did have $4,000 this year to date for administrative fees, which are fees that are included in the existing deals that are that the IDA done in the past. Our expenses were $8,900, $8,950 for audit and accounting. We're accruing a $12,500 annual fee on a monthly basis to CEDC, but we haven't paid it. Our insurance was $1,081. I'm sorry, $1,481. That compares to $1,354 for the CRC. So it's basically the earned on the team, director and officers coverage. Additional bank fees netted by the $1.26 in bank interest. So our total expenses were $14,000. So we had an $11,000 deficit. We did have $71,000 plus in pilot payments, which we distributed to the respective municipalities. I think we have to go back and look that since the pilot payments were paid out, they're not expensed here. So, when you net out the 71,875 in the corrected report, you'll have a negative 10,599. So we'll work with CAT and update the financial statement to reflect that. On the balance sheet, we do have $110,000 in key bank. Some prepaid expenses, total assets of $111,000. On the accounts payable side, we're still showing the IDA fee. Has that been paid yet? Or the audit fee, 89?
No, I can get everyone to sign today.
Okay.
It will come off.
And we have, the accrual from last year and the ongoing accrual this year to CEDC. And again, we're not going to pay that until we get a deal. So basically, and then we have, we're carrying $6,000 of liability due that we collected from Hudson River Valley Holding. That we're booking it that way because in the past that money was passed on to the county because we were selling this piece of property on behalf of the county. But the county has requested that we hold that money for further direction as to how they would like us to spend it for economic development purposes. So we are holding that as a liability, but at some point I expect that will be absorbed by the project. So netting out the liabilities, we have, we're going to have to adjust our net income figure there. So we'll have to reduce our net equity, but we do have $110,000 in the bank. And I think when we get into my administrative report as it relates to certain projects, and that may be on the forefront, there are some significant potential projects that could result in several $100,000. So I think our holding pattern and our relationship with CDC to not have to drain the cash because we don't know if we're going to need the cash. We're happy to you'll recall, we reduced the fee by half and put a kicker on for projects that are closed. So instead of getting $24,000 a year and only getting paid additional funds on for fees for projects, it would have been after we did $15 million in projects. We reduced the fee. Now we'll get paid up to 10% of the fee, up to $10,000 going forward. And the real work beyond the administrative work that Lisa and Riley and I and Pat do with respect to these meetings and dealing with prospective projects that are covered by the $12,500. So, any questions? That, Mr. Chairman, after you get an approval, I can go into
Need a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Mike?
with the Wick Hotel, known to us as 41 Cross Street LLC. As you know, Columbia County IDA financed that at the request of the City of Hudson IDA 7 years ago. It was approximately $8.5 million project. They did add an additional $500,000 at the time after the initial project closed. The group approached the IDA back in October, affiliated with the Chemical Factory, where they were planning to buy the WIC from Redburn Development. And they requested, and the IDA approved, the assignment of the benefits associated with the project to the new group, and at an administrative fee of $2,500. That deal did not go forward. Subsequently, the L41 Cross LLC has entered into a purchase and sale agreement with an entity affiliated with Ben Bain, who owns Gas property and the Kitty facility across from the train station. So he's really the neighbor that encompasses the two sides of the hotel. That our contract for sale has a September 30th closing date, so there's a 6-month due diligence period. They do have an attorney who has contacted us, and their question was, she's from out of state. And the question she had was, well, can we'd like a new 10-year pilot. I said, wait a minute. The original pilot was at a much discounted rate in year 1, with the anticipation of year 7, 8, 9 being where the taxing jurisdictions would recoup the funding that they had received. Right now, the assessed value on the project is $4.9 million. Again, the assessed value on commercial property is based on an income approach, not on sale approach or cost approach. At current tax rates, 2024, the taxes would be $124,000. Pilot payment this year is $71,000. So they're still getting a $50,000 benefit. Next year, based on a 2% escalator of the tax rate, they would get a $45,000 benefit. Next year, a $38,000 benefit, and the last year of the pilot, a $31,000 benefit. So there's $170,000 of benefit on the pilot by the IDA agreeing to allow the new purchaser to assume the agreements with respect to the original financing. Their question for us now is, so I think she understands that for the taxing jurisdictions to get the benefit of the original bargain, the full 10-year pilot has to play out, and that there is a but-for test, which is, but for the benefits that an IDA can provide, the deal won't go through. And it's unlikely that this purchase would would not go through if we didn't provide that benefit. The issue is, will they do the appropriate upgrades and enhancements to the project? And, they're looking at purchasing the project for an amount that's greater than the original $9 million of financing. And they're looking to put several $1 million, at least $1 million into the project at the time of closing to upgrade FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. A good portion of that would be subject to sales tax. That would be done, while under the assignment of if the board agrees to do what it did in October with the new group. So the question is, and Andy and I are working to get an opinion from our IDA special counsel on the extent any of the $1 million that is spent for improvements at the time of closing relate or subject to sales tax, with the 8% sales tax exemption be eligible. The other question is, at this point, they're attempting to determine what size mortgage they would put on the property, and would the original IDA mortgage exemption apply. I would think it would apply for new money, but not necessarily for the original debt, depending on whether there's an assignment assumption agreement of the original debt. I think that the hotel is 8 years old. I understand that they have a Marriott affiliation for reservation services. I think it's called Trillium, is the brand that they're under. Marriott has, I understand from the previous deal, fell through because Marriott had insisted that there be an upgrade. I guess after 8 years, the rooms get a little bit weathered, and so I do think that assisting them in updating the facilities, and I think is a worthwhile exercise. If they came in and said they wanted to put a 50-room addition on, and they got the approval of the city planning department, whether this IDA would say take it back to the city IDA and let this deal ride out would probably be the appropriate step. You'll recall that we got involved because at the time the state told the city IDA they should disband because they hadn't done the deal in 10 years. We don't know that we want to own this at the county IDA level forever. And so, my recommendation, subject to the special IDA council's opinion, would be that if the IDA would assign this to the new entity, and to the extent that a sales tax exemption was available for improvements through 2027, you would grant that. And to the extent that a mortgage exemption was available, either for their full mortgage or that portion of the mortgage over and above what was originally approved, that you grant that as well. And basically, if the current owner came in and asked for either of those things, I believe, but we're going to confirm that they would be eligible. So, I do think, and then if they wanted to come in and do a major addition or some capital, $3 to $5 million improvement above and beyond bringing the current property up to the standard it was at when it was built, that they should go back to the city. So, I think that's the update, and they are having. I think it's important, after all the work that was done to build that hotel down in that area that at the time was basically a wasteland, and based on the investment that has been done in and around them, because they had created an anchor and a foothold down there. I think it does justify the support of the project through the 10 years of the original IPA.
Yeah, no, and I think 7 years. And, you've seen it with other hotels. You don't want to have this slide back, right? So without that, at one point you may look at it and say, why are we giving this exemption? It's already up, it's already existing. But as Mike said, whether you want to keep that as an anchor in there, and you see, you can think of other hotels where they start up here and they slide down and they become a flight. So it is a little bit of to make sure that what's happening.
And, when we did this, the city IDA had $10,000 in the bank. And, we convinced them that we would give them half the fee if they told us what the pilot agreement term should be and requested that the county IDA do this. Primarily because we didn't want to be criticized by, people in the city that we were giving away, what we were defining with the tax benefit, to the project. We gave them the $40,000 fee. They contracted with CEDC to manage the IDA as we did for you. And they have over $600,000 in the bank now. They expanded the IDA as they were directed by the state. And we had not come up with this mechanism to assist them. I suppose this IDA would have gotten those funds, but the political fallout of us deciding what benefits we were going to give to each of these projects in the city, I think would have stressed the relationship. So, any questions? I suspect they'll have an application to us at our next meeting, which will be August. And unless we hold a special meeting for one of the other projects, and I do think that the result of that will define whether they go forward and build the project and buy the project. Any questions on the way? The next item I have is we've had a inquiry from EAC Sales Inc. They have had a previous project financed by the IDA before I got here. That's been fully paid, and they do want to do an expansion. Again, my concern is that when it's all said and done, it's probably about a $250,000 benefit because it's a relatively small project. The hard costs are 1.1 million. The soft costs bring the total project cost up to $1,250,000. I did do a preliminary estimate. On $1,250,000, the fee would be $1,200 or $12,500. Sales tax exemption would be approximately $50,000. And the real question becomes, find out from the assessor, what increase in assessed value would they attribute to the work that's being done here, since over half of it is material. There's equipment that's not real property tax. So if there's a $500,000 or $600,000 increase in assessment, it's not going to be dollar for dollar anyway, because again, it's an income approach. So if you want to go back and see, they put an additional mortgage on, and if they put $1 million on, that'll barely pay the fee because you've got a 1.5–1.25% mortgage fee. So I'm grateful that they've come to us, but I'm not sure it makes business sense for them. But again, we did do at City IDA, we did a $7 million project. That's about the smallest project I've seen done in an IDA in a long time. And obviously, benefit would be in the real property tax pilot agreement, but the pilot agreement would only reduce the assessed value by the improvement. It wouldn't give you a 50% reduction on the current assessed value.
Sit down. Half of that is roughly.
But racking, it's let's see, Um, electric, concrete, doors, heat, plumbing, septic, well, insulation, and site work. Then you've got racking, new warehouse racks, upgrading existing warehouse racks, then labor and basic materials. So, the sales tax exemption net after fee, you're not gonna have. You wanna talk to their council, feel better, the draft application. How much they asking for? Well, they wanna do $1,250,000. So what they're asking for, if they do $1 million mortgage, it'd be $125,000 mortgage tax exemption. If 50% of those costs were sales tax eligible, racking primarily, 8 times 5 is $40,000 in sales tax, and not knowing how much the assessor would add to their assessment based on $800,000 of capital improvement. Say it was half. You're not going to save $1,000 net present value pilot payment differential over 10 years. So I have to go back and get a better understanding of why they think it'd be a benefit. They may think that the whole project, the whole facility becomes subject to the pilot based on a 50% reduction, but also their assessment right now is fairly low. But I don't. If it's based on income, maybe it's not low. So it's interesting, and I think because they did it before on a much larger project and it worked out for them, they thought, well, let's go there again. But we have to sit and have a conversation with them.
I don't know if last time they covered, but, yeah.
Well, they probably had the whole place. So I wasn't able to on a quick basis find out. But I wanted to make you aware of the application or pre-application. 27 Summit Street is the old knitting mill at the top of the hill in Philmont on the pond. It's a group that is looking to do a significant upgrade of that facility and turn it into a venue space for weddings and other types of events. And they have applied for a Restore New York application, and in the hopes of getting a grant, from the state to better to improve the facility. The project description. It's the 1876 Summit Knitting Mill Restoration and Adaptation Project. Revitalize a building that was once the locus of activity. It's been insignificant, been empty for many, many years. The restoration of this 30,000 square foot structure will feature commercial event space for music, theater, weddings, and art shows. In terms of economic impact, the project promises to host a variety of tourism attracting events to the community. And they are looking for a $2 million grant from the state for the Restore New York. Overall, it's a very large, it's going to be over a $10 million project. And
Parking for that?
well, again, we rely on the local planning board for our State Environmental Quality Review Act. My understanding is they may have to provide a shuttle for people to the parking lot below the hill. And, you know, so I do think that they have they're very, the developer has a lot of resources. They have a very professional team, and they have submitted a draft application, but they anticipate coming to our August meeting.
How big a building is it?
30,000.
For 30,000.
You know, I think, I'm hearing that people can rent their barn for 20 grand for a wedding. You know, we talk about what the Basilica does when they have a $250,000 all-in wedding. It's not all the Basilica. You know, you see in Chrono magazine, Martha, Chronogram, some of the weddings that are done in Columbia County. Well, I have a friend, we got a gift a year after our wedding on our anniversary, and she was from England, and she said in England we get the gift a year later.
That's a good idea.
You don't have to split the toaster. So, you know, it's a lot of fun working with this group. It's a younger group, and you know, I feel like I'm teaching economic development 201, and but I do think they have a fairly good chance on the Restore grant. I don't think they'll get 2 million. State is interested in the project, but there was a project in Germantown that was looking at Restore, and there were 2 projects in Hudson. But the other 3 projects ultimately did not submit out. So we have not had an update recently from Lobella. I'm waiting to hear back from his attorney, Mike Bruno. They were scaling the project back to a more reasonable price, and working with their lender to get those details in place so they can revise their application. I think, you know, that's there are other projects that are out there that are percolating, but again, 10 projects. I work on 10 projects to get one when you're the developer. It seems that the IDA has to do the same.
We got dates on 9H and 66. 9H and 66.
Yeah. 9H and 66. That was one additional item I'd like to bring to the board's attention, Chairman. In 2017, the county transferred to the IDA a parcel that was sold for $30,000 to Hudson River Holding LLC. That's a partner limited liability company that's owned by Paul Harpus and Matthew Sevovich. You'll recall that they paid $30,000 for the property, and they also signed a note for $30,000 indicating that if they did not build within a set period of time, that we select a default mortgage payment. The IDA during COVID, the 2 years was up as COVID started, gave them 2 extensions, and they are now attempting to move forward to get planning board approval in Laverick to finally build on that facility or that property. They've come back to us because of questions asked by the planning board, because that property is 1.83 acres, and the planning board said they need to build what they want to build. They have to scale it back to the site, or they have to request from the IDA the purchase of adjoining property. The IDA also owns a 52-acre parcel that surrounds this site. a good portion of it is wetland, and the other portion is within the right of way of the FAA restrictions here. There is a 1.25 acre parcel to the north of the parcel that they currently own that abuts the Bioforce property. They have requested that the IDA pay that property to them, so that now they would have a 2 almost 3 acre site. I've talked to the county. The county said the property is owned by the IDA. It's up to the IDA to decide what to do with it. I met with Dan Russell, Crawford Associates surveyor. We confirmed that the only really buildable portion of the 52 acres is the 1 acre that is basically the lot that is between property they own and Bioforce. We confirmed with the town that you couldn't build on the 1 acre parcel as it is, anything that would be economically viable or feasible. And so we are requesting that the agency authorize entering into a purchase and sale agreement for the 1 acre parcel at an appraised value determined, and with a penalty that if they don't build on the combined site within 2 years, that there be additional penalty, and pass the penalty. The amount purchase price is $40,000. Get additional. Going back and looking at most recent sales, we did the CEDC on behalf of the county bought lot property from the Cesternino family on Route 9H that's joining the Commerce Park for $240,000, 6 acres, $40,000 an acre. There's an argument that, well, if no one can build on it, it's less than that. But my argument is, well, you're now adding such value to your other parcel that there's no discount.
So they would add this acre but not build on it?
No, it would allow them to build bigger. It would allow them to build what they want to build. The town is saying they can't. Not the current lot. We recently sold a piece of property to Lot 8. We sold Lot 8 for $90,000, and that was 3.6 acres, $25,000 an acre. My thought is that this is $40,000 to $45,000 an acre. And when you look at, there was an offer on 9H for 120, and that fell through. That was at $2,000. So, as you know, the ABO requires that 90 days. You must notify of an intent to sell a piece of property 90 days before you actually close it. There's some restriction on notification because it goes to the Speaker, it goes to the Senate, the Assembly, the Division of Budget, the Authority Budget Office, Controller, and the Governor. They have 90 days to comment that they don't want to sell. Of the 10 properties we've sold from CEDC to the IDA to other entities that we've submitted, we've never heard boo from anybody submitting those, but we've always documented it with an appraisal. Difficulty is if you don't submit that while the legislature is in session, the law changes from 90 days notice to 60 days notice from when the legislature goes back into session. They're going out of session on Friday. So we don't have to complete the sale, but we have an intent to sell. I would like to be able to authorize Andy to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement with Hudson Valley Holding Corporation. for the purchase of this 1 acre parcel at $45,000. And that you authorize me to notify the state that we intend to do this. Again, you don't have to have a purchase and sale contract in place as intent, but it would at least put us in a position that it could be sold, and that it would be, the purchase and sale agreement would say that if they don't build within 2 years on the combined parcel, not this portion of the parcel, that they would have to pay an additional $45,000.
We'll be staying with that. This has been going on for quite a few years now.
Well, they've been paying us. They fully paid off the original note. And CEDC had a similar transaction for a parcel that Paul Harpus bought in his own name. And he has approval now to build that, and he's going to move his business from Scottsville to the Commerce Park. So I think they have finally gotten to a point where they have had some delays in the planning board process in Claverick. So it has been, there's no one else who we can sell this parcel to. So either they have to default and someone buys it and comes to us to try to buy it, or we add it to their lot now and they don't do what they say they're gonna do, we double the price.
Problem is, then we still have to go back to that original problem that we had. Thought, even if they default, don't build again. They gotta pay a $40,000 penalty. They still own the property, right?
Andy and I talked about the fact that could it be, I had always said second guessing. If you had structured these deals that if they didn't build in 2 years, they lost the property. But the issue here is what are you're going to lose it to come back to lose the.
And you're merging it, so you're not gonna be.
Yeah.
Now there'd be a double penalty, because there'd be a penalty. There'd be a
Penalty on the first piece.
original lot. So there is, you're increasing the leverage, if you will.
You're gonna have a $70,000 penalty because there's a $35,000 penalty on the. You'll have a 70, 35, and 45. You have an $80,000 penalty.
Sounds like that acre.
And I asked Ed Steffler why it was done that way, and I think it was done that way because they thought at some point you might be able to get back and use the other acreage, and so it would be where the road would go. But Dan has showed me that it's a whole hillside, and the wetlands would prohibit you from entering the property that way. And then when you look at the fact that if you go from 66 up to the beginning of the runway, that's what that parcel is, and the FAA won't let you build it. So,
No, and I think it's a good point. I think maybe the one distinction from past history is that they are in farm. So like they're trying to get this done. It's not like this pie in the sky, like, well, we'd like to get this and then do it. It's like, no, they're telling us you need this to get this done.
so
And we get rid of a 1 acre portion of a parcel that we otherwise would be stuck with. Would be just
and when we add it to the $6,000 we're holding for the county, and the county indicated they would have us hold this too. So we have $50,000 for future IDA expenditures as directed by.
Because the flip side is we say no, they scale the building down, they build it on that site, and then this 1 acre is forever lost, because then they're not gonna want
That's locked in from his property.
No, it's adjoining.
to join.
Join.
But it would be forever wild, because unless we sold it to him later, he couldn't really build on it.
Seems to make sense. Yeah, it seems to make
He just, and he is, obvious, it's clear that he's moving his business there because he sold his, it's not sold, it's not closed. His property in Scottsville is under contract. And the other aspect of this is if he doesn't build, he has an offer. There's people who are interested in buying it from him to build. And so if we put the pressure on it, maybe we only give him 1 year to start.
those minutes, only because I was thinking about the same thing, give them the next parcel, and then the next thing, you turn around. What was the other parcel?
35, and then, so 35, you'll have $80,000 in it. Now, you know, I think that, the last 3-acre parcel, the highest price we had offered for it was 120. So, yeah, you could make $20,000 or $30,000 on it. But just have somebody who built something in there and get started. And they would have to assume we would not release the mortgage on sale. Because new people would have to build within that time, or they'd have to pay double.
He's gonna continue on being a roofer, is that what his plan is?
You know, I think one thing I thought about it, why don't we make it $50,000? And, you know, that way, you know, he'll have, 85,000. And and that's consistent with, you know, the larger parcel that went to 90. And, we would be in a situation where if he puts it, you know, he's not getting a windfall. And the new owner would be subject to the 1-year restriction that, and then it's easier with the state because I can show that it's worth, somewhat less than that, and that we're getting a premium.
Seems like there's so much trouble.
Well, I think, we do find that, well-capitalized developers, go to markets where they can build bigger projects because they can amortize the soft cost over a larger, development budget. Here, you know, absent plot estates, where they had the capital to, you know, hire the right engineers, and get multiple lawyers, get, like, you know, site planning. We don't find that generally. We don't. We want to help our small business people who are trying to do these things, but they are generally undercapitalized. On the flip side, you go to the towns, and there's no full-time employee other than the highway department. So we're in the middle often of trying to move projects forward where either side has the full capability that you have if we're Custer or Clifton Park or Colony, you know, where they have 6 or 8 people in their planning department. So it's sometimes a little bit, they'll do respect to stone cops on both sides. And, you know, I think when you look at it, COVID was a significant impact. CPC gave a similar extension to other businesses not related to health. But I do think we want to make sure. I think one of the things we're going to want to look at next is, and I have had an initial conversation with Ray Kowski, the county engineer, and the chairman, about is there any interest on the part of the county to identify a site for second adjacent, going in that same region or a different part of the county. Again, it's going to be limited by having electric, gas, water, sewer, broadband all at the same location. And you know, at Commerce Park, there's 2-phase power. So if we amend the recommendation, $50,000 plus the penalty mortgage, not only on the 1-acre parcel, but continuing on the larger parcel, for a total penalty mortgage of 80. No, I mean, it's got to be at least $30,000. appraised value, but not less than 50,000.
Okay, heard it. Motion and a second.
We're gonna give them a 1 year window.
1 year window. The lot, Commerce Park on the 1.25 acre parcel.
Need a motion, second.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor?
This would be a lot different if it wasn't if it was a little parcel on its own.
Another update on the other side, south side of 66, developer.
Yeah, they're working, it's not there. It's like.
Oh, yeah. We also had an inquiry, gentleman bought 30 acres, talking about the price, bought 30 acres for $500,000. That doesn't have roads. In fact, it doesn't have sewer water connection, but it's eligible. He bought 500,000, 30 acres at $16,000 across the street at Gaubauer, and 66. Bought it from the family that had sold the property where the tractor company is. And that family kept property at Four Corners there. And he is looking to see what he can do with that property. You know, obviously, he bought it from Barry Birch, and it's a 819 Route 66, 32 acre parcel, and so you know it's no,
It goes downhill.
yeah, it's on the corner of
Gaubauer and 66.
yeah, it's on the north side between it's on the north side, or I guess the east side, next to Olmsted. So it's across the street from Ships Way LLC, which is the car dealership. Columbia Habitat Restore that has a little carve out. So he
Was it between Gaubauer and Olmsted?
on the east side.
But your parcel says for sale, but it's all,
Yeah.
it's downhill, it's the same village.
And so he's in Massachusetts. He admits that they bought it, not understanding that the zoning was in flux when they joined it, so that they have to get some special use permit variances. He's looked at everything from housing to fast food. He wanted me to go to the planning board with him, and I said, well, in a home rule county where our funding is 50% from the board of supervisors, you don't get involved in town planning, citing decisions. And I suggested that he wanted the building inspector to tell him how, and I said, well, it sounds like you want to avoid getting local counsel and local engineers, and I recommend against that. It's difficult because the building inspectors do the site plan work. No planning board, department staff, anything. And the building inspectors generally have 2, 3, 4 towns that the building inspector in. And he wanted to come on Wednesday, and I suggested to him that he check, and we checked, and the office hours for the building inspector are only on Tuesday. So he's gonna come and not have nobody to talk to. You know, hopefully anyone listening to this tape realizes how transparent we are at these meetings.
One other thing, I just, Rock Estates have a. open this one.
They contacted you or?
Well, so I ran into. But it was, it might be like a soft open. They're planning on open.
Skip those.
You know, they had mentioned some dates. We had provided them with a list of state, local officials. Obviously, with the amount of funding they've received from Empire State Development, there are requirements to how they label that on any materials that they send out. You know, I'm going to be away in Wednesday the 27th.
They think more on the Four Seasons project. We changed that.
I could do some of the names.
That's the change.
Oh. The issue there was the developer did some clear cutting and upset the village officials. And so we may be able to get back on track together, but right now it's not.
In regards to the future of the Commerce Park additional location, is that something that there's property available north or south up towards 90 corridor or something like that? Or is this something that you just want to see if there's an appetite for the supervisors?
We haven't identified the site.
Okay.
You know, when I mentioned yesterday on a call with included a local realtor about, you know, we're holding the 6 acres that we bought in Sesternino. This is available. I said, no. County still asks us to hold it. You know, I think that my purpose of talking to Ray was to see, based on knowledge that there's limited water, sewer, gas, electric, broadband location, where you could put it. I mean, obviously, the 30 acres across the street there is a potential site, but you know whether you know the person who bought it is looking to get the upside of developing it, not selling it to the county for speculative development. There is money available from the state. I forget the program, but we're not for profit or government apply for funding to make a parcel shovel ready. That was part of my interest in exploring it, because obviously there would be probably $1 million of capital cost to do a 30-acre site. But again, a 30-acre site is 5 or 6 5-acre lots. The lots in Commerce Park are 3.5. So, you know, again, do we want to be in the real estate business, or do we want to encourage someone who owns 30 acres to develop it and have them market it? We did look at some property. Rensselaer County is doing a corridor study from between the two I-90 exits.
It's a Hannaford,
We have Hannaford,
and then
the big
Amazon.
right?
Amazon.
So from
Down
Amazon,
Route 9.
from Amazon down to the Columbia County line.
Yeah, they just threw in all water lines.
And they hired Sandy Mathis to do the study. And so he asked if we were interested in doing the same. You know, Chris and I have looked at that area. I mean, there are large enough parcels there that you could do septic on a commercial level, but, you know, again, I don't, got, A, finding someone who's willing to sell at a price that makes the project work, B, getting the approval of the town. And, you know, again, some of that is farmland. Not paying a lot of taxes on it. But if you look from Columbia County line to the Circle in Kinderhook and the access off of I-90, you know, then getting in under the railroad bridge, you know, doing some state highway road improvements. That is an area that look. You know, there was some talk at one point about some Germantown area, but again, you know, the Commerce Park works because we can go down 9H23 and or go back up to 90. But some of these places you can't have it where you can't truck.
Okay, any other questions? Public comment? Anybody there, so, motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Where's my- So approved, thank you.